We've codified our existence to bring it down to human size, to make it comprehensible. We've created a scale so that we can forget its unfathomable scale.
Greetings. I am Hatshepsut, Pharaoh of Egypt. You see, I have watched the rise and fall of civilizations, the construction of empires, and the triumphs of mankind. But there are forces beyond any ruler's control. Forces that, when left unchecked, can lead to destruction. Episode 2. The Secret Annex. The days in the Secret Annex are long, filled with a quiet tension that weighs heavily on Anne and her family. Since their arrival in 1942, they've lived in a cramped, hidden space above Otto Frank's business in Amsterdam. The rooms are small, with windows covered to prevent detection, and the silence inside feels suffocating. The slightest sound from the outside world, a footstep, a car passing, or a knock on the door, sends waves of anxiety through the family. Every moment is a reminder that discovery is always just a breath away. Anne's family is adjusting to the new normal, though the strain is beginning to show. Her father, Otto, is often distant, retreating into books, or lost in his thoughts. He carries the weight of the family's survival on his shoulders. Edith, Anne's mother, has become more withdrawn, her worry etched across her face. The family's once close-knit bond has started to fray, each member immersed in their own isolation. Even Margot, Anne's older sister, has become distant, consumed by her own anxieties. Anne, feeling the weight of the oppressive silence, often retreats into her own mind. Despite being surrounded by her family, she feels lonely, trapped by the constant fear and uncertainty. "I think a lot, but I don't say much," she writes in her diary, reflecting on the difficulty of expressing herself in this strange, fearful new reality. The once carefree conversations and plans for the future are now replaced by whispered exchanges, and there is little room for laughter or joy. Her family's emotions have become buried under the pressure of hiding from the outside world, and the tension often feels unbearable. The annex itself is a constant reminder of the danger they are living in. The rooms are small and dark, with barely enough space to move around. The fear of discovery permeates every corner of their lives. Anne writes about the difficulty of finding solace in such an environment, where every day feels like a battle between hope and despair. The shadows of war loom large outside, and she knows the threat of violence is ever present. Yet, in the midst of this darkness, Anne holds on to the belief that there is still goodness in the world. "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart," she writes, a quiet act of rebellion against the fear that surrounds her. Each day in the annex brings new challenges. There are the daily struggles of living in close quarters with another family, the Van Pels, and the dentist, Fritz Pfeffer. The tensions between the families often flare up, with personalities clashing in the tight space. The little comforts they once took for granted, privacy, fresh air, a change of scenery, are now out of reach. Yet Anne continues to write, pouring her thoughts into her diary, capturing the highs and lows of life in hiding. Her words are the one thing she can control, the one part of her life that remains untouched by the fear outside. Anne often reflects on the past, on the life she once knew, school, friends, and the small pleasures of normalcy. But she knows that those days are gone. The future feels uncertain, and every day spent in hiding is a day stolen from the life she dreamed of. Still, in the midst of this uncertainty, she finds a way to survive. She writes because she must. She writes because even in a world that seeks to erase her, her voice will remain. Her diary is her sanctuary, a place where she can be herself, where she can express the deepest parts of her soul. Through her writing, she holds on to a sense of self, a sense of purpose that the darkness of the Annex cannot take away. As the days blend into one another, Anne's reflections become more profound. She clings to the belief that even in the darkest times, there is beauty to be found. Look at how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness, she writes. An acknowledgement of the small acts of resistance that can light the way even in the most dire of circumstances. The Annex may be a place of fear, but Anne refuses to let it define her entirely. She seeks out the small joys, the moments of beauty that still exist in the world around her, and they become her lifeline. Despite the isolation, despite the fear, Anne holds on to hope. She believes that somehow the simple beauty of nature can provide comfort in the darkest times. The best remedy for those who are afraid, lonely, or unhappy is to go outside, somewhere where they can be quite alone with the heavens, nature, and God, she writes. Because only then does one feel that all is as it should be, and that God wishes to see people happy amidst the simple beauty of nature. As long as this exists, and it certainly always will, I know that then there will always be comfort for every sorrow, whatever the circumstances may be. For Anne, the power of nature becomes a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even when the world feels as if it's falling apart, there are still small comforts to be found. Her belief in the goodness of people, her commitment to holding on to hope, and her unwavering will to write in the face of fear are her acts of defiance. Her words, written in the quiet of the Annex, will outlast the war, and in them she will leave behind a legacy that cannot be erased. Some more of her words include, "People can tell you to keep your mouth shut, but that doesn't stop you from having your own opinion.